think we will give
this meeting is being recorded.
Just a few more minutes to join. We will be recording the session though, so just to make you aware, we generally record these so that we can share them, and I'll repeat that a couple of times as people come in, just so that everybody's aware. So I can see we've got a few more people coming in now. I think we'll give it till about 5 past, and then we'll make a start. So I'll just get my slides ready to go. Right, so I think just give it another minute. How are the numbers in the room now, everybody? Rita and Suzanne, are we getting closer to being ready to start?
We have 20 people.
Okay, well, we'll just give it one more minute just for anybody else to join, and then we'll make a start. So welcome to everybody who's just joining. We're glad you can join us for this session this morning. And you can see there's still a few more people coming into the room.
Yeah.
That's great. Just give it until 5 past, and then we'll make a start. Okay, well, I think it's 5 past on my clock now, so I think we will make a start because we don't want to keep people here any longer than we need to, and we want to get you out of here by 10 o'clock UK time, 11 o'clock European time. So welcome to today's session. My name is Joy Davidson. I'm Associate Director with the Digital Curation Centre in the UK, and I lead Work Package 2 in the Fair Impact Project. And today's session is the Fair Impact Support for National Level Initiatives support program. We're looking to introduce you to what support is on offer and to give you a sense of what the program will entail. So this morning, you'll be joined by myself, my colleague Suzanne Dumichel from CNRS, and Rita Menezes from Trust IT. And the three of us will give you a flavor of what's on offer with the support program and a little bit of information about the project more generally. Some housekeeping rules first. As I've said to a couple of you already, this is being recorded. We know that quite a lot of people have registered for the event, and probably many people will just be hoping to catch up on the slides through the recordings afterwards. So these will be recorded and made available for the general public via the website after the event. So if you don't want to be on camera and you don't want to have your voice recorded, please feel free just to use the chat or to communicate in some other way and keep yourself muted and your microphone off. Otherwise, it is meant to be quite an interactive session. We'll have quite a bit of time for Q&A, and at that point, we would encourage people to put your camera on, open your mic and discuss, or use the chat if you feel more comfortable doing that. So your choice whether you're on screen or not, but just be aware that the session is being recorded. So before we go into the session, I wanted to give you a little flavor of what's going to happen today, and then I'll give you a flavor of what the project's all about. So the session today, it is a maximum of an hour. We want to give you a brief introduction to the support programs that are being offered by the Fair Impact Project. Today's session, as I mentioned, is for national level initiatives. And what we'll do is give you a sort of general overview of the project and the kinds of supports we're offering across different stakeholder groups. Then we'll move into a little bit more on the detail for the national level support program, and Suzanne will give you a flavor of the kinds of things you can expect from that program. We'll then move a little bit on to the practicalities of applying to join the support program. And then we will have, as I said, some time for questions and answers. So as we go through, please feel free to put things in the chat and we will pick them up during that Q&A session. We'll wrap up with a little bit of a reminder of the key dates so that you know exactly when you have to get your applications in and what sort of timeline we'll be working to do. But as I said, please just feel free to ask questions as we go if anything needs to be clarified. So I'm going to give you a brief overview now of the Fair Impact Project. We are a Horizon Europe Infra EOS project, and we are primarily here to help realize the vision of the European Open Science Cloud. Our aim is particularly on enabling the fair data-related aspects, so making sure that data are findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable, and really trying to support the uptake of tools and approaches and methods that have been produced and that are coming through the pipeline. And really, we're all about trying to support the take-up of these practices and methods. We started in June 2022, so we're just past our first year of activity, and we have another 2 years to go. So we're funded up until May 2025. We're quite a large project. We're a coordination and support action. We're a 10 million euro project. And as I said, we are working for 36 months, and we're just at the kind of first year mark there. We're quite a large consortium. We're 28 partners from lots of different member states and lots of different stakeholders. And luckily for me, we've got quite a few UK partners in despite Brexit. So we're one of 4 UK partners in the project. One thing I'll show you here, this slide is just a little flavor of the kinds of organizations that are involved in the project. So as I mentioned, I'm from the Digital Curation Centre in the UK. Suzanne, who will be speaking a little bit later, is from CNRS, and my colleague Rita is from Trust IT. But you can see here we do have quite a lot of different stakeholders involved in the project. So we have some national level repositories like DANS, who is leading the Fair Impact project, but we also have some national level initiatives like CSC in Finland. And we have intentionally brought in quite a lot of use case partners from different domains. So we have people like the UK Data Archive, UK Data Service, from the UK to represent the social sciences, and we have LifeWatch and different partners bringing in different expertise. So we're quite a mixed group, and we're hoping that that broad range of people we have in the project will be useful as we deliver the support, since we'll have lots of different bits of expertise that we can draw on to share with the community. So a little bit about what the Fair Impact project is trying to achieve overall. As I mentioned, we're really trying to support the implementation and uptake of fair enabling practices. And this is our key stakeholders are really those kind of actors who are working at the European, national, and at the institutional level, because so often really the changes happen at that local level as well as at the national and international level. So we're really trying to support fair aligned practices and uptake of tools, methods, and approaches across these different levels. How we're doing that, part of the work has been, over the first year of the project, trying to look back and see what's already out there. A key aim for Fair Impact is not to reinvent any wheels, and just to make sure that we can really make use of the tools and methods and solutions that have come through previous projects, and in particular those that were funded in the program just before Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe, which was Horizon 2020. And there was a number of projects that were funded to support the realization of the European Open Science Cloud. And we'd really like to build on some of those outputs. So we spent some time looking at those and trying to identify things that we could promote through the support projects. Another aspect is translating viable solutions from one domain into another. And as I mentioned, we have some domain-specific partners coming from the life sciences, the social sciences, the agricultural sciences, and the photon and neutron communities. And there we're trying to identify things that have maybe been developed and tested within one community and that we can maybe translate and help other communities to take up. So that is work that is primarily going on in our pillar work packages. We're also looking to try and progress the definition of support and governance and coordination mechanisms. And to this end, there's a lot of work in the project around persistent identifiers, the governance of semantic artifacts, and metadata and metrics. So we've got quite a lot of activities. Support, though, is really at the heart of everything that Fair Impact is trying to do. What we want to do now, that's a little bit about who Fair Impact as a project is, but we'd like to get a little bit from you now about who's in the room today. So if you could go to menti.com and put in the code 13457304. We just have a poll that we'd like to share with you. And I'm not sure if you're seeing the right screen from me now. Let me just have a...
No, we still see the slides. Sorry. Yeah, maybe you have to unshare and...
Yeah, let me just go back here. Try to share the Menti poll. Okay, great. So hopefully you can see this now. So we're getting some responses coming in. So I see people have found the link and they're working, and that's great. Okay. So I can see we're getting some people coming from the Netherlands, France, quite a few from the Netherlands, Czech Republic, Romania, France, great. Some from the UK. All right, I think it's starting to slow up a little bit now.
Yeah, we have 11 answers, but we are the double almost in this room. So
yeah,
feel free to answer.
Give
Start
another minute
answer.
or so.
Okay.
Oh, so Tunisia, that's great. Poland,
Romania, Poland.
Okay, well, we'll move on to the next question. You can continue to add to this poll. It'll be open. So Sheila's got the question, where can I answer? If you go to the Menti poll 13457304 at menti.com, you'll be able to answer the polls there.
Yeah, I put the info in the chat.
Great, thanks very much. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. We would also just like to get a sense of which organizations are joining us. So if you can just type in the name of your organization, or if you're coming to the session today representing a particular national level initiative, we'd like to know. So some of your colleagues coming from CNRS, that's great. NFDI, perfect.
Sure, okay, dance. We have some usual suspects. UKRI, library.
So CNUDST, I have seen that one before, and I can't remember now what it stands for. So maybe if you can put that in the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, same for TDCC. I'm not sure I know Bioma Institute. NORA.
It's good. So we're seeing some national level service providers and some of the kind of larger funding related activities coming in. So some funders in the room. That's great. So the thematic.
TDCC, Thematic Digital Competence Center for Natural and Engineering Science in the Netherlands. Thank you, Joanne.
So we're getting some disciplinary partners here as well. So we've got culture represented, the life sciences, so that's great. Okay, well, I think we are starting to see it slow down a little bit, so we can maybe move on to the next question. What type of an organization? So for some of those acronyms that we didn't understand before, if you can find a one-word answer for what kind of organization or initiative you're representing today, that would be great.
Repository, university,
Okay.
Data repository, National PIT Center, okay, National Library.
So quite a lot from the repository side. So that'll be interesting. I'm assuming, I know when I've looked at the registrations, we're seeing people have registered for this session, but also some of the other sessions coming up next week. And one will be on repositories and data service providers. So we'll pick up on this a little bit later, but it'll be interesting to see, which of the programs is most beneficial for the different actors. So people who might be national level repositories, whether this is the right program for them or the support program for repositories. So things like that. Right. So a national research portal, that's great. RPOs, great. Okay, well, I think we'll move on to the next question. What is your role in the organization or initiative that you represent? I think the national level initiative support program is the one where we're expecting to see the greatest diversity in the kinds of people who we're dealing with, because it can be pretty much anything and everything. So we should see quite some interesting answers here, I think. Innovation director, network manager, research analyst, great. Yeah, I think we are seeing that diversity that we were anticipating for this call. So I think lots of different actors involved here, and it's great to see so many different kinds of people coming into the room today, because I think the coordination of all these different actors is going to be something that's really important. So that's great.
And that means very different expertise and experiences to share. And yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, it's very encouraging to see. Great. So I got about 10 responses there. As mentioned before, the poll will be open. So if you haven't put it in now, feel free to go back at any point and add your responses. We just have a couple of additional questions here. This is to get a sense of engagement with the EOSC Association. So we wanted to get a sense of how many people in the room are from organizations that are mandated organizations for the EOSC Association. And what does that mean? Maybe Suzanne, you could explain what that means.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, true. Thank you, Joy. Yeah, so the support programs that actually I will present you in a few minutes is, as you have seen, is dedicated to national organization, especially because the goal will be to build a fair national implementation plan. So it's at some point quite difficult to find a scientific organization which have a national mandate in their own country. So what we did is to start working with the mandated organization of the EOSC Association who have this type of mandate. So this is why it's interesting today to have a better knowledge of who is in the room. And actually the result is quite interesting because we have only one mandated organization and the others don't come from this group. So that's great. Thank you, Joy.
So it looks like we're heavily on the non-associated organizations,
yeah.
Which is fine. Perfect. Okay. The last question here, and it's really to get a sense of whether your organization has any kind of national kind of role for a specific topic, discipline, or other. So I think most people seem to be saying that yes. And I think from the kind of word clouds we saw before, it certainly seemed like a lot of you played a role in the national level for repositories or persistent identifier coordination. So that's great. Okay.
And we have new people coming in the webinar actually. So since a couple of minutes, a lot of people are joining. So good morning, everyone.
Yes. Okay, well, I think that has been really helpful for us. I'm going to stop sharing that and go back to the slides, hopefully. So that has been useful for us just to get a sense of, who's in the room and what kinds of areas are being represented. So thank you very much for taking the time to do that bit of sharing with us. I'm just going to go on for a little bit more now in a bit more detail about the kinds of supports that we will be offering. I think most of you will have seen this through the website anyway, so I'll give a very brief description here. three main kinds of support that we will offer through Fair Impact. We're calling them routes. These are ways to become more fair enabling and to help organizations on their journey to becoming more fair enabling. So there are three routes that we're offering to do this. The first is Route 1, and this is very much the support programs that we're introducing today. And this is where we are giving dedicated guidance and one-to-one support. So a cohort of successful applicants will work with us to develop action plans and engagement plans, and they will get the one-to-one support of mentors. The second route is to do very specific tool testing. And this is where you might have seen previous calls that we had. We had our first call in March, which opened and it closed on the 1st of June. And that was a call for people to come and test very specific tools, one relating to fairness assessment. So trying tools like Fuji and OFair. And the other one was to try tools like fair signposting and RO Crate to make metadata more findable and to support content discovery. So those are the kinds of two main types we have. Route 1 doesn't have any financial support. I think it's important to mention that. But what we are giving there is dedicated one-to-one support. So you're getting our time rather than some financial support. Route 2, there is a little bit of money to help buy out time for people to try the various tools and to feedback on the approaches. The third route is our most widely dissemination route, and these are a series of public implementation workshops that we will be running just on various tools, approaches, and methods, and these will start in September and run through to the end of the project. And these would be open to anyone. You don't have to apply to join, but you just have to register. So this, as I mentioned, is the second of 5 open calls that will be running over the life of the project. We have 3 more coming up in January and April 2024, and then finally in September 2024. So in this call, as I mentioned, we're focusing on Route 1 support, and this is the one where we're hoping to introduce to you what you can get from Fair Impact to help you progress things at a national level initiative. So just a little bit of background on how we developed the support programs. As I mentioned at the beginning of the project, we spent about a year looking at what's already available and trying to identify things that could be promoted to different stakeholders. We found a number of tools, and we did some desk research to come up with a landscape analysis, which came out, I think in May that was released. And we identified about 60 resources that could be potentially put forward. Through a period of internal peer review, we whittled that down to about 30 resources. And these are all things that are currently out there and available, mostly from the Horizon 2020 Infra-EOS projects, but also from other relevant initiatives. But we are keen to make people aware that it's not just tools that you need to actually implement FAIR in a practical sense. There's a lot of other things you have to think about. So we've developed something called the FAIR Implementation Framework. And this is a 7-step kind of process, really to help you realize that tools are just one part of a bigger picture. Moving from step 1, where you're thinking about why you want to become more fair enabling, thinking then about where your current capabilities are and where you want to get to, moving on to thinking about what are the concrete actions you have to take, and who else do you have to get involved from your institution or from other institutions if you're working in the national level. We've put a really big emphasis on engagements within the framework, because you can have great tools and approaches, but if nobody knows how to engage with them and at what point, they're pretty useless. So engagement is a big part of the framework. You get to the kind of practical side where you're choosing tools and implementing approaches. And then that's not really the end of the process. We've got another 2 steps at the end of the framework. And one is to review whether implementing a particular approach has resulted in what you wanted, or whether you need to rethink how you've done it, or whether you need to use something else. And the last one is really to share experiences. And I think this is very important. As a community, we're all kind of finding our way together as to what being fair enabling and an active contributor to the European Open Science Cloud means. So sharing experiences is really something we promote as well through the the framework. So we've used this sort of framework as a way to underpin the structure of the support programs that we'll be delivering. And what we'll provide in our Route 1 support is the virtual workshops. So there'll be a series of between 7 and 10 workshops in the different support programs. And you'll get to delve into different topics and see examples of good practice. But you'll also get that expert guidance and advice from your mentors. You'll get support to carry out a self-assessment, a supported self-assessment, to develop your action plan, and also to devise an engagement strategy. And a key thing, again, is these support programs are really hoping to help you learn from your peers as well. So we want to share what we can with you, but we also want to make sure you learn from the others in the support program. So I think I'll hand over to Suzanne now, and she'll run through the specifics of what's involved in the national level support program.
Thank you very much, Joy. So indeed, let me introduce you to the programs that have been sought by the Task 2.5 in the Fair Impact project. So I have 3 slides because each slide actually show a specific part of the support program, specific aspect and progression actually of the program. So the 4 first workshops that you can see here are really focused on the main topic or main aspects that are needed to build a national fair implementation plan. So that means we will start with the presentation of fair national plans in Germany and Romania, not only regarding the content of these plans, but also how they have been built, what kind of consultation process, relation with the ministry or not. So this is the whole purpose of this first workshop, in order really to give 2 different way of proceeding to build this type of plan. Then the second workshop, which will be held the last week of January, will be managed by the Research Engagement and Adoption Task Force from the EOSC Association, and it will be related to how to engage with the researcher regarding fairness. So here it will be mainly to present the main output of the task force with concrete plan, concrete suggestion about how to engage with the researcher and how to make sure that the plan, the fair implementation plan that will be built during this support program will be adopted then by the researcher in your country. By giving you some tips, tools, and different methods that you can apply depending on the characteristic of your own country. Then the third workshop, the date is already planned, so you can already fix that in your agenda. So it will be the 6th of February. It will be related to open access publishing in Fair Action Plan. So here, the goal is really to highlight a specific type of resource in the Fair Action Plan, which is very often neglected. It's about publication, books or journals actually, but not only data. So the idea is really to have a quite complete fair implementation plan where the fair doesn't relate only to data or data set, but also to the type of data and metadata related to journals and books. Then there will be a 4th workshop, which is about the skills needed at a national level. The skills needed to be able to implement a fair action plan, and it will be presented by the Skills for EOSC project the last week of February in 2024. So this first four workshop, as you can see, give really a specific aspect about general plan, how is that it has been built, engaging another type of resource and the skills. And then we will move to a period where the participants will be able to start building and drafting their implementation plan. So can we move to the next slide, Joy, please? Okay, thank you. So in March, the goal is that the participants of this program will work independently to start to prepare their self-assessment and to develop the draft action and engagement plan, built on, of course, on the previous workshop. And during this period, there will be periodic support, one-to-one support from Fair Impact team via email or Zoom, depending on the needs and the state of development of what you are currently of what will have been done already. Then we move to a fifth workshop, the French Data Management Cluster, which will be during the first week of April. So it's not completely confirmed yet who will present it, but the topic, of course, is fine. And the idea here is really to present how the concrete organization in France, which is quite distributed regarding the type of unit and the type of resource and the type of discipline. So here it's So with the first workshop with Romania and Germany, it's more about the open science and fair plan at I would say at a policy level. And here with this workshop, with the example of France, it's much more at the implementation level, concretely how it is organized in the different organizations in France, just for you to better understand the progression in the support program. Then in May, again, we will give a period without any type of workshop because it will be the time to work on the draft action and the engagement plan. Here again, as well as in March, periodic support from the Fair Impact team via email or Zoom in order to support you and to help you shaping as precise as possible your national implementation plan. Then in June, we will have one workshop to assess the current fair enabling capabilities. So here it's much more focused on research assessment. So this is why it's more or less it closed the support program in terms of content workshop. So we move from the building or from the setting up of the plan to how to assess concretely the fair capabilities in terms of skills, in terms of resource, so in terms of the different aspects that will have been presented in the previous workshop. And it will be made probably by the Coara Boost project or in a collaboration with the EOSC Association Task Force on Research Assessment. So it is still to be discussed. And then we can move to the last slide. Thank you, Joy. So during the summertime, between June and August, here again, it's like March and May. Actually, the participants will continue working independently to build their implementation and action and engagement plan, with also periodic support via email or Zoom from us. So you will have 3 months based on to precise and get to the end actually of the fair implementation plan. Then we will have 2 workshops, 7 and 8. So it's not one. The first week of September, 2 hours each, and here it's really to have a session about what has been learned during the self-assessment, the action and engagement plan drafting, review of the action plan, sharing about between you, us, what has been done. And it will be together with someone from the Fair Impact team and a mandated organization of the EOSC Association to give an external viewpoint about what has been produced. And we finish with exit interview carried out in October, and which will be the basis for us to summarize what has been done and the type of lessons learned. This part is really similar with the 2 other workshops that will happen next week, and a follow-up questionnaire, an interview with participants 6 months after the program, in order to check what kind of progress have been made. And I think we can move to the next slide, Joy. Thank you. So regarding the estimated effort required from participants, so we estimated at about 45 hours the effort to attend, of course, all the webinars. This is mandatory. To create the Fair Nationality Implementation Plan, to benefit from the dedicated support by the T.5, by us, actually, by the task. That means by the email exchange or the Zoom discussion, depending on the type of channel that you want that you prefer. To participate to the peer knowledge exchange workshop, prepare the engagement and dissemination plan, and answer to the interview and follow-up questionnaire. All these activities are mandatory if you benefit from the support program. That's an important aspect. Then there is also all the time. So part of this 45 hours is also all the time to prepare the engagement and dissemination plan and to draft the Fair National Implementation Plan. So here, the estimation of 45 hours is almost for organization which start with almost nothing, I would say. Of course, this estimation can vary a lot depending on the level already of your organization or even of your country, already having an open science policy, already working on fair on national activity or providing fair training in your organization. So this is why it's really a rough estimation. I would say the worst case scenario, and it can be much less depending on the level of development. But as Joy said, we really expect very different types of organization to apply to this support program, and the national aspect can bring very different partners with different type of advancement in this task. I think that's it. Maybe we can move to the next slide, Joy. I think it's still for me, this one. What we expect from for the participant, of course, willingness to participate in the different workshops and the meeting that are part of the support program. All of them will be virtual, just for you to make sure there will be no face-to-face meeting. To carry out also the assigned homework in between the virtual workshop with the one-to-one support, but there will be homework because we really expect to have concrete delivery of plan at the end, an engagement plan. So to act on the fair implementation action plan that will be co-developed with the mentors, to engage relevant local or national actors to enable the implementation of the action plan. Of course, to participate in the exit interview and to answer to the questionnaire. So it's almost just to make sure that if you apply to this support program and if you are selected, there are a couple of things that are expected from you, especially because there will be very strong and important support from the partners of the Fair Impact Project. And I think it's important to highlight that to make sure that all the participants of this support program will have the support, a dedicated time to be supported and trained depending on the needs. And with that, I think I hand over to Rita, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, exactly. So Rita, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Rita Menezes from Trust IT Services, Project Manager. So just to recap, the aim of this call, we are aimed to call individuals, groups, and organizations from national, international level initiatives, repositories, and also research performing organization. Although this online workshop today is mostly focused on for representatives of national, international level initiatives. An important criteria is that the applicants must live and or work in European Union or in any of the associated countries during the whole time of the provision of this support program. Okay, so that's an important requirement candidates need to comply with. Next slide, please. So you may ask how we can access to this grant platform, how we can apply ourselves. First of all, this starts on the Fair Impact website. You need, in order to access the grants platform, you first need to either log in if you already have an account, or if you don't have an account yet, you need to create one and log in. After you do this step, then you'll be able to access the grants platform. How you can do it? You only need to go to the page of the open call you want to apply to. You click on the button, and then you will transfer to the grants platform where you can send your application itself. Next slide, please. When you are on the grant platform, this is the print screen of the homepage. You need to select the program you want to apply to. Considering today, this has a special focus on the national level initiative. So on the 30th of August, which is when these calls will be open, you need to come to the grants platform and you have to click there where is the yellow row pointing out, which is the form, the application form for the national level initiatives. For everyone's benefit, all the 3 calls will open at the same time, and they will be closed also at the same time, which is they open on the 30th of August and they will close by the 1st of November. So you need to send this application within this time frame. Next slide, please. Then, so your application will be online. So you need to reply to a couple of questions, which are listed in the platform. When you are filling in your application, you can save your replies as draft and then continue later on. This means the fact that you start now, you don't have to finish it now. You can work a little bit, save as a draft, come back a few days later to revise your replies, to reply to other questions you did not reply to yet, and so on. When you are happy with your replies and with your application, you just need to click on submit within the deadline, so before the 1st of November. Then when you send your application, you just have to wait for us. And what will be happen? So your application will be evaluated by 3 different evaluators who will evaluate separately. So the evaluator number 1 will not know what's the opinion of evaluator number 2 till everyone finishes the evaluation process. Next slide, please. And that's it. And when we evaluate, we will contact you with the results of your application. Now you may ask, okay, Fair Impact team, what are you looking for in the candidates? So for this specific call, we are looking for individuals that have a role which can have a potential impact in a national level. If the person has relations with the ministry and policymakers, is even better. Also, if this person has, he's involved with the OSC association or something related organization, is also a plus. Then there are other three things that we'll focus on when evaluating this, is that if you have capacity to implement a fair implementation in national level, or implement, or even if you have relations with someone who has that kind of capacity. If you also have similar capacities to also develop a fair implementation plan in a national level, but also if you have the capability to engage with researchers at a national level. So it's not just a matter of implementing a plan and practices, but also, am I able to communicate my plan to the right people in the country that I want to, in order to make this plan useful and bring impact to society. So this is what we are looking for, very briefly. And I believe I can go to the next slide before I pass the word to my colleagues, is that if you are selected and at the end of this support program provision, we'll request from you 2 follow-up activities. One, it's an exit interview, where we'll ask, your experiences, what you've been doing, how our support was important to you, and your, let's say, the feedback you will receive from you. It will use as a basis to pull out a fair implementation story. We have a section of the website where we promote success stories on implementing or improving fair good practices. So you have the possibility to become one and to have further visibility in the community. And then to conclude, we also request a follow-up communication, which it will be just filling in a follow-up questionnaire after you received our support, just to understand the importance of our work to you, how helpful it was, and this will be very important information for us to even get better at the work we aim to do. And this is it, at least from my side. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Rita. Just one word before moving to the Q&A session. Just to let you know that we also aim to propose public fair implementation workshop that will be that will start this September. So it's not part of the support program. That means this workshop until December won't be mandatory to assist, but actually they will relate to the support program and they can be helpful as well. They will be actually very helpful to build the fair implementation plan. So registration will be mandatory, but no application needed. And the first one is already planned for the 11th of October at 9:30. And it will be about open science and fair national plans in Denmark, building and content. So feel free to put that on your agenda, and don't forget to register. We will open that soon, and there will be other sessions in November and December. And I think we can move on. Yeah, thank you. And don't forget the 2 other information sessions that will be next week. Next Monday, support for research performing organizations, so the other route of this support program made by Joy. And on Tuesday morning, the fair implementation workshop, support for repositories and data service providers, will be presented by Marianne, who is there as well today from Dance to present this support program. And with that, I think we can open the Q&A, Joy. Yeah. And we have 10 minutes. We will start not to... So, was there anything unclear and complete that you want to precise? You need more information? This is now or never. You can raise the voice, write in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, I saw there was a question in the chat about who is the right person to apply for this, and I thought maybe you could pick up on that one and explain a little bit.
Yeah, indeed. So actually, it's not really. So it can be. Now I see the answer from Johan about is it for policymaker or is it more about practical aspect of setting up? I think it can be both. And it will be both depending on the type of organization that you have, and on the characteristic of the country. What was really difficult and what is quite a challenge in this task is that the fair plan that you will have to build will be very close. Must answer or must take into account the cultural practices, the policies that are in place, and the structuration of your own country. So if you have a country which is much more focused on the policy and where the national aspect is not at all made on a very practical aspect, then it will be much more for policymaker. But if you have a country which is much more focused on how to implement concretely the thing, then it will be much more practical. And sometimes it can be both, of course. So this is why my answer is not clear at all, because it really depends on the type of country. So it's really open. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, I think maybe one thing to think about is so a national action plan can be very hard to progress. And I think maybe the key thing to remember is if you're an organization within a national framework and you know that there is some activity going on either with an open science national strategy or a strategy to be part of the European Open Science Cloud, I think you could be thinking about joining this and looking at what your particular organization can contribute to that national strategy. So I think you should also be thinking, what can we do, and not always just that it has to be rubber stamped at the top level. I think it's really, how do you help make things happen at the national level?
Exactly. Yeah, very good point.
That's great. So I thought there was another question in the chat about if Tunisia is allowed, and I would say we are following the European Commission guidelines, and it's European countries and associated countries that are eligible to apply. So that is the kind of parameters we're working with. So I think Tunisia certainly falls within the associated countries, or other countries, one of the two. So I don't know if anybody else had any other questions. I'm just scanning to see if I see any hands.
No.
No. No other questions. Okay, well, I think, as I mentioned, I'm just going to share my screen one more time. If you do have any other questions, we'll probably run a virtual
We
clinic.
have another question, Joy.
Oh, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Who are the people who will give support? Yeah. So actually, it's the partners of the Fair Impact project. So it's us today. We have worked on that from since the beginning of the project, actually. So it's the partner of the project, probably in dialogue or with specific feedback from the invited speakers at the different workshops, in order to be able to answer to some specific question if you may have. But we have developed a methodology within the project about the fair implementation plan. So this is really how we will be able to support you depending on the needs, based on the methodologies that have been developed by the different partners of the project. So maybe, I don't know, Joy, if you want to complement.
Yeah, I think on that slide I showed at the beginning, we have 28 partners in the Fair Impact project, representing lots of different areas of expertise, and they will be the primary mentors contributing to the support programs. And also we will be bringing in, as Suzanne showed in her program, invited experts to share their expertise as well. So, but your day-to-day one-to-one support will be from the Fair Impact team. Okay, well, I'll say we're coming close to the end of the hour. If you do have any other questions, there is a dedicated web form that you can fill out with questions, and there's contact information. So if you do think of anything else you want to ask, you can get in touch with us with that point. I wanted to close with a reminder of some of the key timeframes that we're working towards. So as Rita mentioned, all three of the support programs will open for applications on the 30th of August. So next week, the platform will open. The deadline for applying is 5 o'clock on the 1st of November, CET. So get your applications in by then. And as Rita mentioned, even if you want to start the application, you can come back to it. You can save it and start working on it and come back to it. But as long as you remember to click submit before 5 o'clock on the 1st of November, that would be ideal. In terms of the evaluations, we take about a month to go through everything. As Rita explained, there's a peer review process with 3 reviewers for every application. That will take us about a month to do. And we will be aiming to get everybody notified of the outcomes before the middle of December 2023. The successful cohorts will start the support programs in late January 2024. So all of the information on the timelines you can find on the specific call pages and get more information that way. So all that remains for me to say is thank you very much to all of you for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to learn about what we have to offer. If you have any additional questions, there is an information. I realize it's not very easy to see. I'll make sure we pull that email address out. It's opencalls@faiриmpact.eu. And you can get in touch with us that way. And we will make a copy of these slides and the recording available from the website. So if we went over anything too quickly, you can come back and check. But thank you very much. And we would encourage all of you to apply and good luck. So thank you very much.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you. Have a nice
Have a
weekend.
nice day and weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.